Welcome back, everybody. Let's take a break with Stephen Shamus.
By the way, we both just got haircuts.
Oh yeah, it is complete.
We're both
completely
clean.
different person. Completely different.
We're both clean.
It's like we're both going on a nice date or something. Not with each other.
You even trimmed the beard a little bit.
Yeah, I had to cut it down. It was it's getting a little warm in California for me to have a long beard. It was
Got it. All right, what are we talking about today, Alex?
Oh, we're right back at it. And again, way more, a lot of Marvel stuff. It seems to be popping way more these days. We're gonna talk a little Joe Fixit.
Little power shopping can do. Who are you? They call me Mr. Fixit. I work for
Lady Green.
Classic. We're gonna talk a little Blip magazine / comic. We'll talk John Wick because I don't think we've gone down that road.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
Crystar.
The saga of Crystar, a fantasy world of crystal warriors, demons, and wizards. Good wizards like Ogiodi, evil wizards like Sarda, and underworld demons like Moltar.
They've captured Ogiodi!
And then Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099.
It's a gizmo.
You always have to call me out. It's just really frustrating and bums me
Don't
out.
get too excited, Miguel. It's just a prototype.
Not excited.
But you could be the first person to make an autonomous multiverse jump. Or the last.
Okay, so we're just gonna roll the dice on this?
So what do you say, pal?
Where do you want to go first?
Let's start at the beginning, one last time. Earth 67.
Whoa. What the?
I'm Spider-Man. I need you to come with me.
Who the heck are?
Yeah. By the way, before we get to the magazine stuff,
Yeah.
And then we'll cover it at another date. A lot of the vintage magazine stuff now is taking off like crazy. Even the old Wizard magazines, which we'll talk down the road about.
Yeah, number ones are hard to find in good shape. Nintendo Power is like those. The first 10 issues are really good to find. Yeah,
I know, it's funny how like the
stuff that stuff that 10 years ago were in like every yard sale. They were like 10 for $1.
Alex, I threw so much of that stuff away.
Well, even like at Midtown, I mean, like magazines, we didn't sell magazines like that, so they'd go in the dollar bin just to get them out. So Nintendo Power's blips counted, like they weren't like a big thing back then. So
I know, it's crazy. All right, what are we going to start with? What are we starting with today?
Let's talk Joe Fixit.
Yeah, this book has really started taking off.
Yeah.
Again, these are books that a couple of years ago were like, I mean, people weren't even really sending them in.
Yeah, they were good. They were, people liked them, but it wasn't a big
wasn't a big thing at all. Yeah. So talk a little bit about Joe Fixit and how he what is the difference between Joe Fixit and the Hulk?
Yeah, so there's a lot of story behind like the Gray Hulk. Issue 1 of Incredible Hulk, he was gray, and then by 2 he was green because the printer didn't have the correct ink, so they had to change the color. And then they kind of revamped it where like the Gray Hulk was another persona of the Hulk, and the Gray Hulk and the Green Hulk fought internally, and the Savage Green Hulk always won. And then Peter David made Mr. Fixit, who's the Green Hulk, who essentially is like the opposite of what Bruce Banner was. Bruce Banner is kind of like a meek scientist, very like introverted, and Joe Fixit is everything else. He lies, cheats, steals. He uses his muscle to his advantage, stuff that kind of Bruce Banner wasn't. And for a while we saw him, and he was a gangster. It was fun to see like the Hulk be like a gangster in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Any idea why these books are starting to pop?
I think this is a fan favorite thing. Plus, with the She-Hulk TV show, with the ending, I mean, we've said in the past, everything is kind of up for grabs of what the MCU is going to do. I mean, they just brought Scar in. I mean, we haven't talked about that, but spoilers for She-Hulk. Scar's now in the MCU. Like she said, Red Hulk in this TV show. So everything is there. And why not have a Mr. Fixit TV show where he's just a gangster in Las Vegas, which would be amazing.
Got it. Okay, so Incredible Hulk number 347, September of 1988. There are 99.8s. This was part of the series when and the next issue as well, when Marvel was really printing a lot of copies of these books.
Yeah, this is very popular.
very popular. And that's a $300 to $325 book. First appearance as Joe Fixit. There's an Absorbing Man cameo. It's a Peter David story. Jeff Purvis cover. I don't remember Jeff Purvis, and I don't remember him doing Hulk. Then the other one I do remember, I have this issue imprinted in my brain. Wolverine number 8, June of 1989, 852 9.8s. There's actually one 9.9. That's a $500 to $525 book now.
Wow.
With almost 900 on the census. It's got a back cover pinup by Rob Liefeld, Chris Claremont story, John Buscema cover art, and they printed a lot of copies of this book.
That was Wolverine.
But
that cover is iconic. It's them back to back. It's Patch, Wolverine is Patch, and Joe Fixit. Like, that is a great cover. Very
that's
simple.
the cover.
Yep.
That's the one that everybody loves.
Yep.
You know what's funny to me is my dad was buying art back then, and I visualized so many of those covers in my head. I saw them at the shows. Remember, guys like Todd McFarlane, guys like John Buscema, they would literally just show up with the table with their art, like right on the wall, like $200, $250 for a cover.
God,
it was like, that's what it was. And people, it was like a tough sell, it wasn't like,
nobody, it was
easy.
That. Yeah. It's
oh my God.
It's crazy when you think about it.
Oh my God. And I visualized it in my head. All right. What do we got next, Alex?
Blip. Marvel's Blip.
So we started talking about magazines.
Yeah.
This magazine series has gone crazy.
Yes.
Almost all the issues when they have something interesting on the cover. Obviously, the first one has Mario and Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit? I mean, obviously the first one is special, but all these issues are kind of pop.
Yeah. These are a magazine that was a comic size that Marvel produced, and it was about video games. And this is like one of the first video game magazines out there, because it was Atari. Nintendo really wasn't that big, or it was just coming out. Like the Mario and Donkey Kong was Donkey Kong was the lead character there, not Mario. Mario was an afterthought. But these are super low print. It did not last long. It lasted 7 issues. It was in and out. These again, people didn't treat them like comics. So like, no one was boarding and bagging them. No one was collecting them. They were just kind of magazines. What you do with your magazines, you read them, you throw them away. Very rarely do people keep their old magazines. And again, 7 issues, it's gone. So a lot of this stuff is just like impossible to find. I only saw a handful at my years at Midtown buying.
Yeah. So Blip number 1, February of 83. There's 23 9.8s. It's almost a $3,000 book now. First comic book appearance of Mario and Donkey Kong. It's got a photo cover, and Bob Camp art. Interestingly enough, he's from
early Marvel. Ren and Stimpy.
Ren
co-created and did some
pieces. So, I remember Donkey Kong, the craze. Remember when we were kids, there was no cell phones and things like that. Like, you would go to video game places and play video games all day. Yeah, arcades, right. The word escaped me. So Blip number 2, March of 83. There are 16 9.8s. That's a $350 book. It's actually got John Romita art in it. There's a 6-page Spider-Man story in there.
Yeah, for the Atari game.
Photo cover.
Yeah.
Blip number 3 is April of 83. There are only 3 9.8s. That's about $475. Blip number 4 is May of 83. There's only 1 9.8, so we don't really have a price on that one. Number 5 is June of 83, only 1 9.8. Number 6 was July of 83, only 1 9.8. And number 7 was August of 83, only 1 9.8. So if you could find these books, I would tell you, even in any condition, you're seeing $100 to $300 in 9.0, 9.2, 9.4, and all of these books. So these are very, very tough to find.
Definitely.
All right, cool. All right, Alex's pick of the week. What do you got for us, Alex?
I'm gonna dip back into New York Comic Con stuff, and I have it with me. Super 7 was doing these Wimbledon Green action figures.
Interesting.
Wimbledon Green is a character from a independent cartoonist named Seth, who did a book called Wimbledon Green. He's
is Seth still alive?
Yeah, he's still doing stuff.
Oh, okay.
Got it. And this was about a comic collector who's like the best comic collector in the world, and it was just like a eccentric story. It's very funny. It's very weird to do a action figure of a Seth comic book. Like, that is not something I would have ever thought of or whatever. they sold out of them at New York Comic Con. There are some on their website, but something as like a weird collectible. After a while, these are going to be gone, and these are real collectors' hands. These aren't.
How'd you get one?
I went to New York Comic. They had them at New York, but I got like the last one. Like they had 2 left on the shelf. I'm like Friday. But these are stuff that like a collector of a Wimbledon green action figure isn't gonna like sell it. Like they're not Ninja Turtles guys where they have a ton of it. So this is stuff that might not hit the secondary market after they're all gone.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Love
Very
Super
cool.
7. Big fan.
Yeah. What do we got next, Alex?
John Wick. If you've never heard of anything about John Wick, you've been living in a cave for the past few years.
Yeah, I don't think after the first movie people realized that it was going to become the franchise that it is. I think you're going to be looking at the 4th film now, and now people are really going back on these books.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about John Wick, Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it reinvigorated his career, but it definitely, put him kind of back on the map as like a guy that everybody wants. I mean, John Wick was such a huge success for such a kind of a movie that really shouldn't make it. It wasn't a superhero movie. It wasn't based on a book or a novel. I mean, to have an original idea in a movie franchise, like a Fast and the Furious, if you will, be that successful and have that many films this quickly, it's pretty big. People love John Wick. Like you said, the 4th film's coming out. This is huge. I mean, this kind of like fandom of a movie franchise. We talked about this with other books too. It's like the book comes out, but the movie fandom doesn't really know comic books, doesn't see it come out. And once they start getting wind at, there's extra stories, there's more things I can read, that's when they start going back and buying them. And that's what you're starting to see here.
And there's a bunch of photo covers too.
Yeah.
And all, you know what it always reminded me of? It's when Liam Neeson did Taken.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because like every so often I'll go on Amazon or whatever, and there's a new Liam Neeson film on. Yeah. And they might as well change it to the Taken 4, Taken 5, and Taken because they're all kind of the same.
Yeah. And Liam Neeson wasn't like a huge action star. Like that was like a new thing from, and it like, and again, you knew who Liam Neeson was. It wasn't like a new, but that took him off in a whole nother direction. And I think again, we're seeing that with John Wick and Keanu.
Yeah. So John Wick #1, 2017 from Dynamite, the Giovanni Valletta cover. There are 47 9.8s. It's a $350 book now.
It's pretty low.
It's the first comic book appearance of John Wick. Then there's the Dennis Cowan variant cover B. There are 42 9.8s. That's a $750 book today. There's the Keanu Reeves variant cover C. There's 40 9.8s. If Keanu ever does a signing, forget it. These are going to explode. These are $300 today. John Cassaday variant cover D. There are 29.8s. That's a $325 book today. It's a subscription variant.
Yep.
And then the second print, there are 3 9.8s, and it's about a $15 to $25 raw book. So it would probably also be $300 to $500 in 9.8. So all these books have really taken off.
Yeah,
Alex.
grab any of them. And Dynamite, Dynamite is a big. They're not a big publisher, but they put out a lot of books, and they overprint because people under order, I think. So I think these are going to be hard to find. If you find any of them, just grab them.
Right. All right. What do we got next, Alex?
Crystar, the Crystal Warrior.
Yeah, this is like a nostalgia play. Talk to me about this series. Is almost 40 years old already.
Yeah, this is a weird one because it's not that the series is popular. It's certain covers are very popular. But this is a weird thing. Marvel back in the 80s was, wanted to invent a toy line that they invented in-house. They made comic books and they were going to sell it to somebody. So they made these, the Crystar figures. The figures actually came out almost a year before the comic book did. And it flopped. Nobody wanted the comic. Nobody wanted the toys.
It's funny. It's funny.
But, people know about them and they still crop up. Everybody has a couple Crystar #1s in their collection, but it's number 8, which we'll talk about. That's the real big deal here.
Right. Got it. So Saga of Crystar, Crystal Warrior #1, May of 83. There are 21 9.8s. It's about $120 book. But like you said, the big one is number 8, July of 84. There are only 3 9.8s. There's 9 9.6s. There's 8 9.4s. A 9.8 recently sold for $500, but they're over $800 now. It's got a Glenn Danzig skull cover. Talk a little bit about this cover from Michael Golden that everybody wants number 8.
Yeah, so Michael Golden drew this cover, and it has a skull and Crystars on top of it. That skull was not legally used for merchandise for Glenn Danzig, the punk front man. So like if you back in the early 90s, late 80s, you would see Danzig merch with the same exact skull. It was lifted, nobody got, Marvel has never sued, Michael Golden never got given permission, but it's Michael Golden's skull. It's like you can see it, it's the same exact one. And I think this is one of those like collectors, like Danzig fans and really want to get a copy of this book because that's where it came from. That's his whole thing.
Right. All right, what are we closing out with today, Alex?
Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara. Yeah.
Right, voiced by the great Oscar Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the next film is coming out next year. It got pushed a little bit. These books, they printed a lot of copies of these books. There's no question about it. And when you hear the pop reports, and it's amazing that these books have kept their value. I mean, you're talking about the Spider-Man runs and Spider-Man 2099 when they were printing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of copies.
Oh yeah. And that 2099, that whole push for those number ones with the border covers and everything, those were hugely printed books. Yeah.
All right, so talk a little bit about I assume it's Oscar voicing the actor in the new film.
Oscar's voicing the actor. It's a future Spider-Man. He has not really a Parker or in the family or anything. He got kind of experimented on and gained some powers that were spider-like powers. He could shoot webs. He has like talons on his hand. He also has a little bit of telepathy. That's the word I'm looking for. But he used the moniker Spider-Man, and the design is awesome. Everybody loves Spider-Man stuff, and I think this and like the X-Men 2099 were like the two big hits from that like marketing push.
Right. Okay. Well, again, these books are really starting to take off.
Yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man number 365, August of 1992. Again, this was a book that had a very heavy print run. There are almost 2,200 9.8s. That's a very high pop. $375 today for a book with a 2,200 pop. First appearance of Spider-Man 2099. There's got a gatefold Venom Carnage poster by Mark Bagley. It's a hologram cover. You remember all the hologram covers they used to do. David Michelini and Tom DeFalco stories with Mark Bagley, John Romita, Alan Presti, and Rick Leonardi art. And then the final book is Spider-Man 2099 number 1, where they printed a lot of copies of this, which came out 3 months later in November of 92. There are 8 9.9s, believe it or not, and almost 3,000 9.8s.
Yeah.
That's $175. Yeah, $175 plus today. Again, that was a book when it came out, people put right in the bag of backboard. That was not kind of thrown in the dollar bins, even though over the years they probably got trashed because they were not worth anything for many years. Those were books that people like, oh, it's got a shiny cover on it, let me put it in the
and it was cardstock. Like we talked about that. Like it was easy to get those 9.8s.
Listen, we had cases and cases of 365 and 2099 in store. Cases and cases.
Yep.
Origin Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara, red foil cover, Peter David story, Rick Leonardo and Al Williamson cover and art. All right, that does it for this week. We appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions or comments, please leave in the field below. Otherwise, we will see you next week, same bad time.
Same bad channel.